Watching Joss Whedon's Justice League was rather confusing in 2017. A polarizing film like Batman v Superman still had its fan base, but Justice League was unanimously despised. Well, there's no shock about it. It was the case of DC pretending to be what it wasn't. A carefree popcorn superhero flick. The dark, melancholic and gritty treatment of Man of Steel vanished. Steppenwolf as the antagonist generated barely any fear in anyone. Why was the film so patchy? Why weren't its subplots explored significantly? We had all these questions. The more you read about the behind the scenes of the film Justice League and the life-altering experiences of Zack Snyder while making it, you realize why there has been such a mass movement regarding wanting his version of the film. Justice League in 2017 was the third of the 5 films that would expand the DC universe and were planned by Zack Snyder, the last 2 being Justice League editions, which got cancelled due to the underwhelming box office results of the film. A familiar loss compelled Snyder to leave, and Joss Whedon, the man who has directed multiple Avengers, to take the reins and finish the project. However, it is clear that the theatrical version that audiences saw was much different than Snyder's version of the film. Joss Whedon's version of the Justice League is therefore mockingly titled the Justice League, assumed to have been only 1/4 of Snyder's version. Upon several social media campaigns titled #Release the Snyder Cut, the studio decided it would be best with an additional funding, of course, to allow Snyder to showcase his 4-hour film, how Justice League was originally intended. Sadly not in theaters though, but through HBO Max. In the case of India, you can watch the film by either buying it or renting it on the Bookmyshow stream option. So let's get right into it. Is it worth the hype? Does it significantly change the impact of the film compared to its theatrical version? Is this what we were all waiting for? The mother boxes are being protected on Earth, and Steppenwolf will do anything to unite them together and massacre Earth in its entirety, while Batman and Diana get together to form the Justice League and revive Superman to stop Steppenwolf. So let's get right in. The underwhelming aspects. I won't be talking about the demerits of the film in bullet points, but will be mentioning certain aspects that you should be privy to or that you should get accustomed to while watching this film. A lot of viewers will not be used to the aspect ratio of 4:3 utilized for the Snyder Cut, and this necessarily doesn't hamper the quality of the film technically. You might be seeing more elements actually in a frame compared to the wide format showcased in 2017. But I would recommend to all of you maybe not to watch it on a crazy widescreen, as it leads to the creation of a lot of dead space. While I respect the version that was finalized for the film, it breaks my heart that I could not see this version in theaters. Mark my words, if this movie had a theatrical release in India, people would be storming into the theaters. This is not because it is simply a DC film, but for how much fans have been invested in the torrid journey of this movie. I think not watching Zack Snyder's vision in an IMAX theater was a terrible loss for fans, but we can be grateful that at least we get to see it nonetheless. I also want to preface that close to 1/4 of the film will be using shots of the original cut, which we saw in theaters in 2017. People assumed that the 70 million influx into the budget and some reshoots would entirely change the framework of the film, but that's not entirely true. So expect a lot of moments which you have already seen, but this is another film altogether that made me emotional, excited, and most importantly, invested. Something that was entirely missing in Joss Whedon's version, and I'll exactly tell you why. The good. It isn't pretending to be something else. What I love about the DC universe is when it sticks to its theme of dark, gritty, and compelling shades. When it doesn't pretend to be something it isn't in the first place. With Snyder's version of the Justice League, we are reintroduced to the same theme that I fell in love with. The film explores its world, we are introduced to our withered and brooding characters, and all of it seems like home. I understand that a lot of people are torn about DC's theme or pitch, considering it to be too boring or indulgent, but I think the world created demands for such a treatment. Movies like Shazam can have that sense of animated humor, but it doesn't need to be forced for the sake of commercial viability. There are several moments that I can recall from the Joss Whedon version that made me cringe, as I would never expect my DC heroes to mouth some dialogues. When Lois Lane asks Clark on how he feels when he's back, he says he feels itchy. And I so distinctly remember crickets in the theater as everyone stared at his CGI removed mustache. Ezra Miller's over-the-top delivery, Ben Affleck being uncomfortable with his own dialogue delivery, and again, forced humor almost in every sequence. I'm so glad on how far away Snyder's version is from whatever Whedon created. The fact that Snyder hasn't even seen the theatrical version makes me genuinely think he would be so heartbroken knowing how much was changed from his intended vision. Exploring subplots. So I was watching Jeremy John's review of Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, which is an extended cut of the film with 30 minutes more of its running time. And what it established was 1. The limitations that come when cohesive storytelling is to be achieved, while at the same time the producers think there is a particular running time for a film in theaters that is appropriate. And 2. Just how much of an impact an extra 30 minutes makes. The Justice League Snyder Cut is a clear example of how 4 hours can not only flesh out characters and make you feel invested in their journeys, but also provide layers and context to situations as well as characters' actions. I mean, you have such a compelling character in the form of Darkseid, a character that literally inspired Marvel to create Thanos. He did not feature at all in the theatrical version, and you realize how essential his influence over Steppenwolf is to enhance Justice League storytelling. The complicated relationship and this constant need to impress his master is so beautifully fleshed out in Snyder's version. What the extended time also allows is for us to know our team. All characters are provided setup scenes, either to give us a glimpse of their personalities or abilities. Be it Barry Allen saving Iris West, Lois Lane dealing with the loss of Clark, or even Victor Stone's longing for his mostly absent father. Both Flash and Cyborg especially had become literally background artists in the theatrical version. It's so crazy that Snyder intended Cyborg to be the heart and soul of Justice League, and how that was not the case at all with the theatrical version. This version, the Snyder Cut, will truly prove what he meant by Cyborg being the soul that glues the team together in the conclusion. Both Flash and Cyborg especially have the time to shine in this version. CGI, and I finally felt invested. The running minutes of the film allows the viewer to feel invested. Imagine that a film with a 2-hour running time in theaters developed a sense of nausea and exhaustion within the viewers, and a 4-hour film, because it is fleshed out with such impeccable detailing, it literally feels like a breeze. I feel it is criminal on how different two products can be intended to tell the same storyline. Even the CGI of the Snyder Cut doesn't look jarring as the original product. Steppenwolf and his new armor actually looks menacing and intimidating, and not a poor man's fancy dress competition as it looked in the theatrical run. Lois Lane doesn't look sunburnt in every frame anymore, and this, just from a visual standpoint, is such a superior product. Even the Battle of the Old Gods while protecting Earth stands out from a sheer editing standpoint. Imagine that by the 1 hour 40 mark in the theatrical run, we were already showcasing the battle against Steppenwolf, and in the Snyder Cut, we were still recruiting the team by this time. It also tells you on how much was needed to be said, not to be too indulgent, but for sheer clarity of storytelling. I have always felt that Zack Snyder gets harsh criticism regarding his treatment of the DC universe. I'm actually a huge fan of Man of Steel, and while Batman v Superman has its issues from a storytelling standpoint, its blatant panning seems rather excessive to me. My biggest pet peeve of the theatrical version was the long drawn-out action sequence in the dark with the parademons in Russia. Something that many DC films suffer from, long, complicated action sequences in the dark to cover up CGI issues, and in this case, they even rectified that glaring issue. The final fight sequence with the cameo appearances is impeccable, and more importantly, so clear. The DC universe is a multiverse, meaning that parallel timelines can carry on without worrying about continuity. So when I saw the visuals of Bruce Wayne's nightmare, the possibility of Darkseid taking over the Earth, all I seek for is Snyder's sequel to the Justice League. Can we please restore the Snyderverse, because it looks so delicious. The film will end on a cliffhanger that was originally a part of Snyder's trilogy with the Justice League. Will we ever get it? We never know. But I can only wish for the Snyderverse to be restored. The wait, honestly, was truly worth it. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the movie. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.